Good evening. Thanks for joining us. This is NTD Business, and I'm Paul Graney. The latest update on Texas energy struggles and why some electricity retailers are asking customers to find an alternative. Twitter roasting Bill Gates. He says rich countries should stop eating beef and move to 100% synthetic beef instead. He says it'll help with climate change. And retail sales are up for the first time in 4 months. We talked to a fashion retailer about doing business during the pandemic. That and much more coming up on NTD Business. The Texas energy sector is in the dark for the 5th day today. Oil producers still don't have power. Several ports are closed, and at least a fifth of U.S. refining output was offline. The winter storm just won't let up. It's already killed 21 people at least, and it's not expected to let up until this weekend. Problems with natural gas as well. Daily production is down 17% as wells freeze over. So with the severe electrical shortage, power companies are expecting prices to shoot up. Some providers are now even begging customers to leave their company and find someone cheaper. NTD's Tom Ozimek reports.
Retail electricity companies in Texas are telling their customers to brace for a nasty price shock. Some offer prices based on daily wholesale rates. Normally, this model can mean lower prices for customers. But the brutally cold weather snap has squeezed grid capacity and led to a dramatic run-up in spot power prices. Meaning, those customers will see their bills skyrocket. Griddy is one provider whose prices are pegged to wholesale rates. It said, if the forecast and prices are too extreme for you right now, we understand if you want to switch providers. While we value you as a member, we want what is best for your wallet and family even more. Customers have been sharing notices on social media from retailers pleading with them to switch providers, some even offering incentives. Infuse Energy offered customers $150 to switch before Monday, and Volt offered a $100 credit. The cold snap has led to rolling blackouts. Over 3 million Texans were without electricity at midday on Wednesday. The Texas governor is calling for an investigation into what's causing the outages and to find solutions. Tom Ozimek, NTD News.
Hang in there, Texas. And in other news, retail sales jumped 5.3% in January, nearly 5 times what economists had forecast. It's a good thing, too. It's the first increase we've seen since last September. Consumers are spending on sporting and hobby goods. Home furniture, building materials, and car sales are also strong. And it's mostly online. E-commerce sales are up 22%. Stimulus checks likely fueled the shopping spree, and maybe extended unemployment benefits helped as well. But U.S. producer prices increased by the most since 2009. That measures the cost of production and could be a sign that inflation is starting to creep up, so your money mightn't go as far as it used to. And Asinekai is an independent retailer navigating the pandemic in the fashion industry. Pre-COVID, it was all about the in-store experience, but obviously everything changed last March. But a challenge can become an opportunity, and now she's selling more online than ever before. I asked her how she made it through.
It has been a very steep learning curve for me. Prior to the pandemic, we were doing lots of pop-ups. When we talk about pop-ups, it's like more than 6 months retail show. And we were collaborating with lots of other retailers, like we did pop-ups with Macy's, and we were looking into other collaborations with other retailers. Obviously, with the pandemic, everything went completely downhill, but we were very lucky. Our last pop-up ended end of February. And since then, we have been fully focusing on online, not through only our own website, sinakan.com. We also started collaborating with many other retailers that now accept brands on an only online basis. So we love to work with some retailers like Macy's now, Harvey Nichols. They're all only online. So it's actually a lot more flexible terms that we sign up with retailers, much more different than a wholesale arrangement, and much more favorable and it works for us. We set up all our system to be able to serve everyone, both our ecosystem as well as all the other online retailers we work with, to ensure it's on-time delivery. We have improved a lot on our customer service and journey. We had to change warehouses. We had to change our packaging. We had to speed up our delivery time. So everything had to work and had to be fixed in a couple of weeks to make sure all of these are in line with customer expectations.
And how about customers' spending habits? I went somewhere recently where I buy suits, and a retailer, a bricks and mortar retailer here in New York, and they had no suits. Not one, I think one suit. And basically it's because everybody's working from home, right? Nobody left in the city to work in the offices. How about in the fashion industry overall? Have we seen these types of shifts?
It's strange. I have to admit, after February, right after our pop-up was closed, it was a depressive March, and it was like probably the worst March we had in our whole company history. But after like first 2 months, I think people started realizing the virus, it's okay, we can go out. And also, I think the fear diminished a little bit, or people learned how to live with it. Also, the other thing that happened is people started saving a lot of money. The money they used to spend on traveling, eating out, and going to restaurants stayed in their pockets. So, and they had no entertainment to go through, and so they were preferring to buy and shop online, whatever pleases them. And we have been lucky that actually our online sales increased across all platforms, both our own website as well as other partner websites. And I think it's due to the boredom of people that looked for some entertainment, as well as people look for more investment pieces. Our products range also changed a bit in a way that is more timeless, more sustainable. Everything became a lot more an investment piece. We didn't make those fashionable little pieces that we used to do in the past. Instead, we invested our time on designing things that would last for multiple years, multiple seasons, multiple occasions. We already did that in the past, but it became even more so after the pandemic. So when people buy something, they feel, at least I can wear it for over a couple of years.
Very nice. Mr. Khan, really appreciate it. Thanks so much, and best of luck for the rest of the year.
Thank you so much.
And markets were mixed today, but the Dow closed at another record high. It rose 90 points to 0.29%. S&P 500 lost 1 point to 0.03%. The Nasdaq dropped 82 points or 0.58%. Nasdaq. The Dow was boosted by a jump in Verizon and Chevron shares after Warren Buffett's company revealed large stakes in the two companies. More on that in just a moment. The Federal Reserve released its January meeting minutes earlier this afternoon. It shows they'll maintain the loose monetary policy despite more chatter about inflationary pressure, like we mentioned earlier. The 10-year Treasury yield hit a one-year high during the day. Oil and natural gas were both up, you can imagine why, and gold actually dropped despite the inflation fears. And as I mentioned, Warren Buffett's latest stock picks are out. Berkshire Hathaway now with a bigger stake in Verizon and Chevron, but it reduced its exposure to Apple, maybe taking profits from a super year for the company. NTD's Patrick Hayden has the details.
Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway has added two major new investments. It now has an $8.6 billion stake in phone company Verizon and a $4.1 billion stake in oil company Chevron. It also purchased nearly $500 million worth of shares in insurance broker Marsh & McLennan. To make room, Berkshire reduced investments in several companies, including Apple, but the iPhone maker is by far still its biggest holding at about $121 billion. The investments were disclosed in an SEC filing Tuesday. It signals where Buffett and his portfolio managers see value. Although it isn't clear who bought what, Buffett normally handles larger investments like Verizon and Chevron. Berkshire cut back on several banks, completely shedding JP Morgan Chase, but it increased its stake in some drug makers, AbbVie, Bristol Myers Squibb and Merck, but it sold out of Pfizer. Berkshire is expected to release year-end results and Buffett's annual shareholder letter at the end of the month. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And some Twitter users have a beef with Bill Gates. Gates wants people in wealthy countries to stop eating cows and just eat synthetic meat instead. It's all in the name of fighting climate change. Gates admits it's not a popular idea, but says people will get used to the taste of synthetic meat eventually, and it'll improve over time. Gates wants to reduce methane emissions by reducing the number of cows, but agrees this wouldn't be easy to do in poorer economies. Many Twitter users, though, aren't ready to give up their burgers and are grilling Gates online. Oh, and just an FYI, Gates is an investor in several synthetic meat companies. All publicity is good publicity, right? And in other news, President Biden doesn't want to forgive everyone's student loan debt, but he wants to lessen the burden for certain people like teachers.
For example, if you're teaching school, after 5 years, you'd have $50,000 of your debt forgiven. If you worked in a battered women's shelter, if you worked and so on. So you'd be able to forgive debt.
Democrat Senators Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer want Biden to cancel up to $50,000 in student debt for everyone. But Biden says he doesn't think he has the authority. Warren and Schumer say both Trump and Obama used executive power to forgive student loans, so Biden can too. And Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez isn't happy with some parts of Biden's proposal. She says it shouldn't matter which school someone went to when they were young, everyone should get relief. So does Biden have the authority? The White House says the Justice Department was trying to find out. And a South Dakota congressman isn't happy that Joe Biden canceled the Keystone Pipeline project. He says it's an attack on the rule of law. Big words, but almost 100 other House members are joining him to bring the project back. NTD's Don Tran has the details.
In an interview with the Epoch Times, South Dakota Representative Dusty Johnson criticized President Biden for his decision. Hours after inauguration, the president signed an executive order stopping construction of the Keystone XL oil pipeline in South Dakota. It was mainly out of environmental concerns, but Congressman Johnson said the pipeline met their burden of proof to get local, state, and federal permits.
The president's rejection of all of that, in essence, his veto of all of those dozens of other permits, is a staggering attack on the rule of law. It's a mistake, and it risks impacting millions of lives in this country.
Congressman Johnson talked to local business owners who lost a lot when the pipeline shut down. In Murdo, an electric company saw $90 million go to waste, their equipment collecting dust in their warehouse. And in Midland, Strapa Hotel's revenue slowed down drastically after the pipeline workers left.
And we heard a dozen stories like that in Phillip and in Midland. You know, this is going to have a chilling effect on the willingness of Americans to invest in free enterprise opportunities. Because if somebody can make a project like this disappear overnight, they can make other projects disappear as well.
Congressman Johnson also said Biden is not an expert on the Keystone Pipeline. He said the president had a pie-in-the-sky approach to a project that's been around for over a decade. But Johnson did say he's willing to work with Biden.
I'll work with anybody to do good. If our country is going to succeed, then that's going to mean that we have a Biden administration that succeeds. But the president is going to need to choose a lane. He can't, on one hand, talk about unity and unity and unity and bipartisanship and working with Republicans, and then, on the other hand, have all of his actions run contrary to that rhetoric.
After Biden's executive order, Johnson joined 85 House Republicans to introduce the Keystone XL Pipeline Construction and Jobs Preservation Act. The legislation would allow construction to keep going on the Keystone XL pipeline without a presidential permit. Reporting by Bowen Shao and Don Tran.
And a few North Koreans are now the world's leading bank robbers. But they're not stealing stacks of cash, they're stealing wallets full of crypto. The DOJ is now charging 3 programmers for trying to steal more than $1.3 billion. NTD's Kevin Hogan shows us who they are and where they worked from.
Right now, you're looking at 27-year-old Kim Il, one of the people allegedly conspiring to commit some of the most detrimental cyber attacks in history. He, along with John Chang-hyuk, are allegedly members of a North Korean intel agency engaged in criminal hacking. Hyuk speaks English, Korean, and Mandarin Chinese. The charging documents claim other countries like China and Russia allowed these hackers to operate within their borders to do the North Korean regime's bidding. Here's 36-year-old Park Jin-hyuk, who the FBI wants for conspiracy to commit bank fraud and computer intrusion. All these hackers are wanted for allegedly stealing over $1.3 billion in money and cryptocurrency from financial institutions and companies. But that's not all. Here's the Assistant Attorney General for National Security, John Demers, on how the North Korean regime has become adept at stealing money from institutions around the world.
It also describes in stark detail how the DPRK cyber threat has followed the money and turned its revenue generation sights on the most cutting-edge aspects of international finance, including through the theft of cryptocurrency from exchanges and other financial institutions. In some cases, through the creation and deployment of cryptocurrency applications with hidden backdoors.
The indictment alleges the hackers engaged in a host of cyber attacks for revenge or financial gain against the following entities.
You want us to kill the leader of North Korea?
Yes.
For one, they came after Sony Entertainment in 2014 for the movie The Interview that depicted a fictional assassination of North Korea's leader. And they also used an email phishing campaign between 2016 and 2020 that targeted employees of U.S. defense contractors, energy, aerospace, and technology companies. Kevin Hogan, NTD News.
Still to come. Are you avoiding buying something because you're being forced to download an app? Happens to a lot of us, but are there better strategies for businesses? And Sony gets sued in a class action lawsuit. Some gamers claim its popular PlayStation 5 has a defect. That and more after the break.
If you're like me, and I think it's actually most of us, then you're getting really fed up with the nonsense going on inside the banking system. I mean, we've worked hard our entire lives to retire comfortably. We just recovered from the crash of 2008, and it seems like it's about to happen all over again. Look at the too-big-to-fail banks. They're only getting bigger as the Fed hands them trillions of dollars daily, while simple folks like you and me, we're only getting the short end of the stick. That's why I'm glad I found this book called The Bank Failure Survival Guide. Give us a call, and we'll send you a free copy with no obligations whatsoever. Just one American to another, telling you about some options that you might not have considered. Call 866-239-2619 today for your free copy of The Bank Failure Survival Guide. That's 866-239-2619.
Do you get annoyed when you have to download an app just to buy something? Well, you're not the only one. New research says that 91% of us feel that way. NTD's Patrick Hayden looks at the problem of pushy app makers.
Have you tried to get a special discount recently, only to find out you need to download an app to get it? How does that make you feel? Mobile product expert Rahul Khosla says it's not the best strategy.
Overwhelmingly, people don't like it. They still do it, as you'll see from our study, because they don't have a good alternative. But 91% of us literally hate being forced to download an app.
He says pushing apps on customers doesn't lead to a good outcome.
I think the first thing they should do is really think about their app strategy and have a good answer to why do you want the users to download the app. And the reason shouldn't be that the average order value or lifetime value of a customer who converts to mobile is higher, because that's benefit to the brand but no benefit to the user.
He says businesses should always offer some functions that don't need an app, or customers will go elsewhere. And the younger the user, the more likely they are to abandon purchases because of it. Kostler says new tech is out for iPhones called app clips, so you can try a portion of an app without downloading the whole thing.
App clips and instant apps are a step in the right direction. Essentially what that is, look, get a taste of the app before you download it. And you can abstract key functionality off an app.
He says if apps are used to lure customers in for discounts and the customer experience isn't improved, then when the discount is gone, so is the customer. But he says some companies are getting it right.
The Nikes of the world are actually creating really good, compelling experiences. They're doing unique things in the mobile apps, so that's the benefit of downloading an app. You may be able to participate in a raffle, or you can do a live shopping event where someone is like demoing products live, and you can just say buy, and then it goes into your cart directly.
He says e-commerce is leading the way in this field, but business-to-business apps are trailing behind. Patrick Hayden, NTD News.
And some gamers aren't happy with Sony's new PlayStation 5, so they're taking Sony to court. A class action lawsuit claims Sony violated consumer fraud statutes and breached warranties. It's over an alleged defect with its DualSense wireless controllers. The filing says the controllers have drift, which is when screen elements can move without the player using the joystick. The complaint says this compromises the controller's core functionality, but Sony hasn't commented on the allegations. Lawyers want Sony to issue a recall or implement a replacement program, but Sony says it sold more than 4.5 million PS5 hardware units last year. New York's Attorney General Letitia James is suing Amazon over worker safety issues related to the CCP virus. The complaint alleges that Amazon showed flagrant disregard for New York workers. James's lawsuit claims throughout the historic pandemic, Amazon has repeatedly and persistently failed to comply with its obligation to institute reasonable and adequate measures to protect its workers. James also accuses Amazon of retaliating against workers who complained about the conditions. Amazon spokeswoman Kelly Nattel gave a response to James's lawsuit, saying they don't believe the Attorney General's filing presents an accurate picture of Amazon's industry-leading response to the pandemic. Amazon filed its own suit in federal court seeking to block the state's action. Well, things are heating up in New York. And still to come, tax season is officially here, but with some changes this year, we have tips you should know before you file. And how would you like to be greeted by a robot when you check into a hotel? Well, one hotel in South Africa is trying it out. They don't need to social distance, but it's not without its controversy. More on that after the break.
Why are millions of Americans moving their money into gold and silver? It's simple. The world has never been more unpredictable. The biggest economic crisis we've faced since 2008, and a government that's about to print trillions and trillions of dollars. That's why so many Americans are turning to gold and silver to protect their nest egg. American Hartford Gold is a trusted name to help families to safeguard their wealth. With an A+ rating from the BBB and 5-star ratings on the biggest review websites like Trustpilot and Google, American Hartford Gold can help you convert any qualifying IRA or 401k into precious metals. Or they'll help you to easily purchase physical gold and silver and deliver straight to your doorstep. Learn how you can protect your wealth with gold and silver today. Get this free 2021 information guide. Call 866-893-1493 or text TV to 65532.
This is the first full week of tax season, and there are a few changes this year. The IRS says it's working to make sure you get your refund and any remaining stimulus payments quickly. So Maddie Geither has 3 things you should know before you file.
How will the pandemic impact your taxes? For taxpayers hoping for deductions, credits, and COVID-19 relief on their 2020 contributions, experts say file early.
Last year was a big year, and they're just trying to gather all their documents. So I always say, if you do have a business, make sure that from the beginning you're working with a professional.
If you didn't already receive COVID relief payments from the federal government, filing your taxes will be the best way to get that money if you're eligible. The IRS expects more than 150 million returns will be filed this year and recommends you file electronically. Experts also say it's important to know when to seek professional help.
I do believe that TurboTax or those other providers will suffice, and they are very easy and very cost effective. But as soon as you have a business, rental properties, seek professional advice.
Here's a look at 3 tax breaks you may be eligible for the first time due to COVID. 1, Congress has made changes to tax benefits like the Earned Income Tax Credit, and they've created new ones to give people and small business owners some pandemic relief. 2, small business owners who received a tax-free forgiven PPP loan may still deduct the business expenses they paid for with their money. And 3, if you're self-employed, you may be eligible to claim a new sick leave and family leave tax credit that was created by the family's first Coronavirus Response Act.
And it doesn't look like the deadline for filing will be extended like it was last year, so plan on filing by April 15th or request an extension. And Lexi, Mika, and Ariel are 3 robotic additions to the staff at Hotel Sky in South Africa. And according to the hotel's managing director, it's the first for the continent. David Doyle reports.
At Johannesburg's Hotel Sky, staff adhere to strict guidelines including wearing masks and physically distancing from guests as much as possible.
You can ask me questions.
That is, except Lexi, Mika and Ariel.
Welcome to Hotel Sky.
Though, to be fair, they couldn't breathe germs on you if they tried. Robot hospitality is nothing new. Japan has had them for years, for example, but this isn't Japan.
This is the very first hotel in Africa that has robots.
Hotel Sky's managing director Paul Kelly says the addition of the 3 automated concierges is unique for South Africa and the wider continent.
Robots will never ever replace people, never, especially in a hospitality environment where we're humans that want people contact. We want that social interaction, and robots just can't do that. But what they can do is they can offer you a great concierge experience.
Nevertheless, the use of the robots could be seen as controversial in a country with one of the world's worst jobless rates. Over 30%, according to President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address last Thursday. In the upmarket Santon district, Lexi, Mika and Ariel can drag 300 kilograms of luggage from the lobby to the rooms, can scan faces to measure a guest's mood, and could be deployed to serve high-risk guests amid the health crisis. However, guests can opt to interact with more traditional staff if they don't want to lose that human touch.
Pretty spooky. That's the latest business updates for today. You can still catch NTD Evening News. They start at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, it's all for today. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Hi there. A quick update. Social media has some new restrictions which might affect your access to our channel. If you want to stay tuned, make sure you visit us directly at ntd.com. We'll also have a newsletter coming out soon, and you can sign up for that now, so stay in touch. Thanks for watching.